Turkish military sources have announced that army warplanes and ground troops carried out what they called small sorties inside northern Iraq, where they attacked positions of the PKK Kurdish rebels. They said that the attacks took place between Sunday and Tuesday. It's the latest development on the crisis along the border between Turkey and Iraq, as Ankara has vowed to track down its Kurdish opponents, believed to be hiding in the autonomous region of the Iraqi Kurdistan. Shireen Tadros has more.
Frustration and anger spilling out onto the streets of Turkey. Overnight on Tuesday, police in Istanbul clashed with supporters of the PKK. It's reported a group of protesters lit up barricades and threw stones at police, who then retaliated by firing tear gas. In the eastern city of Malatya, one man was killed by police after police say he attacked them with a grenade. Earlier on Tuesday, thousands of demonstrators rallied, urging their leaders to fight the PKK. They want retaliation for the assault on Sunday on Turkish troops, which left 12 soldiers dead. 8 are still missing and were shown here on Kurdish television. Turkish officials refuse to confirm the soldiers have been taken as hostages, saying the search for them is still continuing. In northern Iraq, dozens of people are fleeing the violence. In the last 2 weeks, their homes have been destroyed by Turkish shelling. This man says his whole family have left their village, but he had to come back to collect his fruits and vegetables. Turkish army sources have confirmed they've been attacking Kurdish bases in the last 3 days and said more raids into northern Iraq can be expected. And while tension rises on the ground, the effort to find a diplomatic solution is continuing. The Turkish Prime Minister on a visit to London trying to reassure Iraqis that any military operation would be targeted.
The Turkish Parliament issued a mandate to the Turkish government for an operation to northern Iraq, and let me specifically underline here that any such effort would be aimed only at the PKK, because we have always stood side by side with the Iraqi people.
But while the leaders continue to reassure, the tanks continue to roll in. Along the border, a clear build-up of force by the Turkish military. There are around 100,000 troops now stationed here. Helicopter gunships and F-16 fighter jets have also been seen. The PKK responding by deploying more of their fighters to the northern Iraqi border. If a diplomatic effort is to defuse the situation, it will have to start working soon. Shireen Tadros, Al Jazeera.
But in the frontline villages of southeastern Turkey, many people are members of a pro-government militia known as the Village Guards. Over the years, they've been faced with a bitter choice: refuse to join the Guards and risk being forced from their villages by the army, or join the Guards and risk retaliation by the PKK. Our reporter Barnaby Phillips travelled up into the mountains to meet some of them.
In the village of Kumchata, they grow up to the sounds of war. Over the street, it reads, "Peace in the country, peace in the world." But the words ring hollow here. Many of the men are village guards, Kurds who are paid to fight by the Turkish government against what they call here the terrorist PKK. The chief is Ahmed Dehir. He says after the last attacks, we are uneasy. All of Turkey is uneasy. We don't want to be disturbed. We don't want terrorism. It hasn't brought us peace since 1986. Today, it feels like Turkey is back on a war footing. At dawn, we found the regular army protecting the mountains that surround Kumchata. Even as the politicians still talk of peace, the army is prepared for the worst.
Turkey is pursuing two policies. It's keeping the diplomacy going, talking to the Americans, talking to the Iraqis. But it's also still building up its forces here in the mountains of the southeast.
Back in the village, a sense that conflict may be looming. If it comes, Sadiq Gungor is ready for it. 70 years old maybe, but still a fighter, still a guard, with bitter memories of the PKK killing his brother. He says, "I'm only a citizen of Turkey, nowhere else. I don't recognize any flag except the Turkish flag. It's the only one I've known. Here is Turkey." War has always split Turkey's Kurds, atrocities carried out by all sides. The people of Kumchata would choose peace if they could, but they know if conflict comes, they have to take sides. Barnaby Phillips, Al Jazeera, on the Turkey-Iraq border.
Well, for more on that story, I'm joined here in our Doha studio by Faruk Logolu, formerly Turkey's ambassador to the United States, now with the Centre for Eurasian Strategic Studies based in Ankara. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Now, what do you think needs to happen to avoid a full-scale incursion?
I think there is still time for diplomatic and political action, but this time has to be proven and made use of by very concrete steps, including the capture of some of the top leaders of the PKK terrorist organization known to be in Iraq, their capture and their delivery to Turkey. Number two, there has to be a clear-cut decision on the part of the government in Baghdad and the Kurdish authorities in the north to close down the camps and the facilities of the PKK in northern Iraq and to end all support given to them by the various groups in northern Iraq, the closure of their offices, and basically ending the PKK presence in northern Iraq. I think it is also important, particularly for the leader of the regional government in North Iraq, Mr. Barzani, to make it crystal clear that he is against terrorism, that he is against PKK terrorism. These steps might make a Turkish intervention unnecessary. One more sentence. I think the first order of business is the immediate and unconditional release of the 8 Turkish soldiers being held by the PKK.
Right, well, there have been assurances given from the Iraqis and the United States, Britain, even in the last few days, that there will be help to root out the PKK. Do you think that will satisfy Turkey? I mean, what's the timescale here?
The time is very short. That's the problem, and we have heard these promises before. I don't underestimate the importance of those promises, but now is the time for action, for deeds, for concrete steps.
Now, who is driving the kind of the push towards the military build-up? Is it the politicians in Turkey, or is it actually the military?
It is the people. It is the people, because the Turkish people are fed up with the number of terrorist acts that have been committed in the last few weeks, and the loss of Turkish soldiers as well as civilians. It's not just security people, but also civilians are being killed as a result of these terrorist acts. So the public frustration has reached its limit. It probably has overflown that limit already.
And how much will Turkey listen to the United States at this point? I mean, in the past they've had good relations. At the moment the relations are not so good. You've been in the kind of positions where you've seen the negotiations behind the scenes. What will be happening now, do you think, and can the United States really have an influence on what Turkey does next?
The US can have an influence over what Turkey does next by exercising its influence on the government in Baghdad, but especially on Mr. Barzani in northern Iraq, to really put an end to his support to the PKK in northern Iraq, and to have the PKK leave Iraq altogether.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Faruk Logolu. Thank you very much for your time.